right, so this is the Dreamers Ed podcast. We're back. This is the worst from the 90s. This is a bit of a bonus episode, I guess.
I guess it is, yeah. And for those who missed the first one, let's do a little roll call just the same.
All right, I'm Chris, subtitler and occasional writer.
I'm Nicholas. I write video games review for thedreamersedge.com.
I'm Francois. I'm a librarian. I play with electrons and occasionally words.
And I'm Dimitri, webmaster of thedreamersedge.com. And yeah, as you mentioned, we're doing the worst of the 90s to complete our little journey back to the 90s that we started a little bit earlier this week.
I think as soon as you open the door to the best, you've got to kind of face the worst.
That's true.
You know, so Frank.
Number 3 pick for a worst movie of the 1990s.
Number 3 pick. Okay, well, I'm going to go with something that is a bit of an urban legend to some, the original Captain America movie. Which features, among other things, a fight scene filmed entirely in the dark. When I mean the dark, I actually mean the dark. It wasn't lit. You see a flurry of oof, eef, anyways, they probably should have added some of the
Batman things.
Batman blurbs, which would have helped. It's just all around bad. It's the one movie that made my approach to the new Captain America movie a very reluctant one. I had come to the opinion after seeing that there was no way that a Captain America could ever work or succeed in any way, shape, or form.
Well, in this movie, Captain America, strangely played by J.D. Salinger's son, and if I'm not mistaken, a movie that was never released domestically.
Right.
And basically, he plays like your perfect super soldier, and all he does for most of the movie is run away from people.
Yeah, he steals 2 cars.
Yeah, one's from an old man.
Yeah, one from a woman.
And you're like, wow, this is the best of America.
What really I found strange, though, is not the hero, it's the villain. Like, why is the Red Skull suddenly Italian instead of German? I understand there were Nazis in Italy, too, but it seems like a sort of roundabout choice.
My theory, the actor couldn't do a German accent, so they just decided the other fascists. But yeah, a good choice. It was a horrible, horrible movie.
Very bad, very bad. My number 2 is Beverly Hills Ninja. All due respect to Chris Farley. It did not work for me at all. One of his late ones, I don't know. It's one of the ones that stands out as a very painful experience that I had to watch from start to finish. So I was with a group, so I couldn't actually reach the remote.
You know, the
Yeah,
90s...
collectively, you decided to just kind of torture yourself.
I guess. I was tortured more than most.
I was gonna say, because a lot of us were teenagers in the 90s, and for me, the 90s is the decade when I've seen the worst movies, because you're forced to go with your friends, and they're not all cinephiles. Like, some of them just want to see House Party 2 for the 15th time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of those, and there is a lot of those comedies where it's just like, how did this get made and actually get released? You know what I mean? Like, it was just...
Saturday Night Live, unfortunately, is responsible for a lot of...
yeah, that was the period of
well, it's essentially, the branching off and, I'm going to get a movie. But it still doesn't beat my number 1 by any stretch of the imagination, which is Highlander 2, The Quickening.
Oh, nice pick.
Very nice.
Wow.
4 movies in a series.
Yeah. It's interesting that it went on, but it's very interesting how they pick a sort of an okay movie with a Queen soundtrack, and it's kind of interesting. When you watch Highlander, I watched it in the 80s. I was very young at the time. I was the perfect audience for it, and it's kind of neat, and it's kind of cool, and it's kind of awesome, and you watch it. And you walk away. You grow up a little bit more, and then you go to the theater and you see Highlander 2. And it looks like 3 different screenplays that were sort of merged into one. And it's like, he's a scientist now.
Curious
And
to see how many writers they had on that.
pretty much. And it features, to me, this notion of like, okay, there's a whole bunch of stuff that weren't touched upon in the first movie that we're just going to ram into the second one. Among other things, the fact that they're aliens from another planet. Like, oh my God. Michael Ironside just chews his way through every scene in that movie. And among other things, just guarantees, okay, well, the main character is mortal now, so I'm going to send 2 immortals to kill him. And of course, it screws up. And of course, he sucks their energies when he kills them. And now he's immortal again. You have just shot yourself through the foot. There's a German proverb which goes, never murder somebody busy committing suicide. I really,
Leave it to the Germans.
don't go out of your way to do something that's going to kill somebody who's kind of on his way to dying anyways. And that's kind of like, pretty much the lesson of that movie.
It takes talent because it's a very hard concept to mess up. They're immortal. You have to chop their head off to gain their power. That's it. How do you mess that up? Seriously.
By being a Brazilian insurance company. That's how you mess it up. Because the story of why this movie sucks is very simple. They started filming a movie that presumably made some amount of sense, and then ran out of money halfway through and actually went bankrupt. The production went bankrupt, so the insurance company took over, which was a Brazilian insurance company because it was filmed in Brazil. And the Brazilian insurance company decided, we're going to finish the movie and we're going to rewrite the entire thing, clearly never having actually seen
The first one,
or at least the Brazilian version of the first one. And so, insurance people, I'm sure they're very good at what they do. Making movies is not one of the things they do.
So, the very worst, according to Frank.
I think that one's going to be hard to beat,
Yeah.
but let's give it the old college try, Nick.
Number 3, Star Trek Generations.
Really?
Yes.
Explain your case.
They tried to make this...
Star Trek. What is this thing?
They tried to bridge the old generation,
No pun
new
intended.
generation. They didn't ask everybody from the old cast to come back, and some people just said no because they saw the script pretty much, and they said no, I'm not part of this thing. And other cast members they didn't even ask. Like Michelle McColl's were like, no, you weren't important at all. Whatever. We're not asking.
She
you.
was black.
I guess so.
I guess she was black.
You guess?
No, I guess that's why they didn't ask her.
By the way, we're kidding. Like, seriously, we don't actually feel that black people should have less right to be in a shitty movie than anyone else.
And then they write a nonsense script about he goes into like this anomaly that grants all your wishes, and when you can come back out if you want to, and you're thrown out whenever you want. So he gets thrown out whenever he wants, just at the minimum time he has to stop the bad guy. Not like weeks before, where he could have just shot the bad guy any time.
I'm a big Trek fan. I love the old generation. So killing off Captain Kirk certainly took away points from the movie. I wouldn't put it on my list of the all worst. It's bad, but I've seen a lot worse. In the Star Trek series, like again, this is speaking as a fan.
Yeah.
Malcolm McDowell was okay as a villain. I think he could have been better, certainly. Data going nuts with the chip was the highlight of that movie, and both his yes when the Klingon chicks from Next Generation get blown up.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of backlash from the Klingon community online because their breasts have been showcased so much that they really were angry by the fact that they basically killed the Duras sisters, I believe.
Yeah, Duras sisters.
Eventually, the Enterprise E, which was a way better design than the Enterprise D, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Geek alert. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say...
But still not an all around great movie, and they do kill off Kirk. So as I said, I have to take off massive points for that.
That's true. You want your heroes to walk off into the sunset. Like that's what I think Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade, got right. It's like this should be his last adventure that we see. We can always dream that he has more. Killing off Kirk is sort of a really weird thing to do. Having said that, Generations as the worst Star Trek movie of the 90s. Come on, we've all seen Star Trek Insurrection.
Yeah.
With the zits and the teenage stuff.
I did enjoy it less, actually, than Insurrection when I saw it in theaters. Maybe it was the crowd or something. Looking back, Insurrection is very, very... It's not good, you're right. Maybe I should put like Generations / Insurrection as my 3. But I hated Generations as I was watching it in theaters. Insurrection, I walked out and I was like, oh, that was okay, that was entertaining.
I came out going like, this is a TV episode that would have gotten preempted.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. That's what struck me about Insurrection, and you actually nail it on the head. Like it felt like one of those scripts that they'd written for a 1 hour episode that they decided to stretch for 2 hours. And oh look, it's in a drawer. Okay, well we don't have a script for the movie. Okay, let's just produce this with movie production values. from the standpoint of special effects, it definitely has movie production values.
That's true.
But from the standpoint of the script, I'm sorry, this is the best you could come up with for a movie? Come on, like...
For things like Star Wars and Star Trek and like whatever, like I'm always angry when they come out with a bad movie because I know there's thousands and thousands and millions of people writing fan fiction that's probably better than some of the stuff that gets produced. You know what I mean?
True, but sifting through that is harder than writing a script.
That's true.
Plus, you don't want to pay
Just
those people.
crowdsourcing. My Star Trek movie should be a wiki.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're
Number
number
two.
I've got to change my worst movie.
Street Fighter, the movie, which was
Really?
very bad for me because I love video games and I loved playing Street Fighter back then.
And you thought there was going to be a rich storyline?
Actually, after seeing Mortal Kombat, which was bad,
Kombat!
but not horrible, it followed the story of Mortal Kombat. It had the characters. It was the characters of the video game.
It had two stuff in there.
That's always a plus.
Yeah, somebody hasn't seen Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance.
I guess so.
Holy... Oh, really? No way. Okay, sorry.
But so you go into Street Fighter 2, it's like, I'm curious what they're going to do with this one, you know, and it's like, hey, look, there's this character. Hey, look, there's this character. Hey, look, there's this character. And it's like an hour and something of, hey, look, there's this character. And you're like, wow, this is horrible. There's not even a story linked to it. It's just something about hostages or whatever, but wow. It was just
Is
a
there a
mess.
street and is there fighting?
There is no... there is some fighting, not in the streets.
No, that's true. That's true. They find some kind of like James Bond underground compound thing. That's true.
Exactly.
Okay, we just... Like, is that the one... Is that one of the last movies with...
Real Julia?
Pearl Julia.
Yeah.
It's his last performance.
It's his last performance.
I will say that the thing about Street Fighter, I have to admit, is that I went in somewhat biased because there are certain bad guys that I could not get past in the video game and hated. So, you know, it sort of recalibrates your entire approach to the movie, right? It's like there's certain guys that you are not going to like. And if I'm not mistaken, Van Damme plays Guile. Okay, I couldn't get past Guile, so...
A Belgian Guile, which was weird.
I
This is the
couldn't-
American character in the game.
Exactly, but I couldn't get past Guile for the longest time, so like I could not like that movie to begin with, because there's no effing way that I'm just gonna watch a movie about a character that I can't get past in Street Fighter, the freaking game. So many quarters, man! I'm telling you, like, probably $100 to $150 wasted. But anyways,
Here's my thing about Street Fighter that really bugs me. All the actors, you know, like you got Kylie Minogue, who's a pop singer. You got
She was in that?
yeah.
My God, I've never seen this movie.
Who's
I'm
supposed
going to
to-
go rent it tonight.
you got
Australian who plays the British characters.
Ming Na, who's playing Chun Li. Like all these characters, apart from Van Damme, none of them can actually fight. Now, granted, that somehow hasn't stopped the Matrix from working, but
True, very true.
But no, and you want to compare it to Mortal
No,
Kombat.
but they probably trained, like, you know, in Matrix, they did actual training. I guess they didn't do that.
And I'll tell you what the difference is between Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat that makes Mortal Kombat pretty cool and Street Fighter pretty awful. The sense of humor. Mortal Kombat has jokes in it. It knows that it's a silly movie and just goes like, look, have a good time. Alright? Like, don't ask me questions. It doesn't make sense. Just have a good time.
Yeah.
The Street Fighter is actually trying to sell you on these characters, but like in this totally hackneyed, bizarre way.
And then afterwards came Street Fighter, the movie, the game, which just blew my mind.
Yeah, that was pretty awful with the
game.
motion capture.
Yeah, motion capture of the actors
Oh, really?
fighting. Oh, man.
But it's just like the original Street Fighter 2 game, except really, really slow and with bad controls.
Yes, exactly.
One thing about Street Fighter, in its defense, still better than Street Fighter Rise of Chun-Li or whatever they called it.
Indeed.
All right, your number one pick for worst movie of the 1990s.
Swing Kids.
Ah, you took mine.
Sorry.
That bad, huh?
Yes. Basically, it's about teenagers in Nazi Germany. There's like the war happening, and there's Jewish people are dying, stuff like that, and they're annoyed because they can't listen to their music. It's so wrong. It's like you just want to stab these people.
But doesn't it like put forward the notion that American music is really better than any music?
I guess so.
And
I guess
therefore,
that
if
was
you listen to good music, you won't be a Nazi, and therefore
But you still won't care about the plight of the Jews, though.
Yeah.
You just want to dance.
Exactly.
They get persecuted though. They get hit on by the
They get hit on because
by the SA
But not
and
for
the
any
SS.
sympathy for anything bigger than the fact that they want to be rebels.
Exactly. They
And
don't listen to their
sometimes-
music.
You want to be a rebel without a cause.
It's not like, they get hit on because they're trying to protect the Jews or anything. It's like, no, we want to listen to this music. You can't. Bang. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I'm with you completely. One of the thing is, Swing Kids is a movie that completely embodies one of the things that I hate in certain mentalities that you hear from people around who think that the worst thing the Nazis did is to tell people what to do. Like, the Nazis were fascists, that's why they're evil. No! They put Jews in ovens! Like, that's what made them evil. Like, it's...
Well, they put
drives
people
me
in
nuts.
ovens, period. Like,
Yeah, not just... Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Gypsies, too. And, but, like...
and homosexuals.
The gays.
And gays, and eventually Christians. But,
Pretty much anybody that didn't agree with them.
Exactly.
pretty much.
And
And that's...
people listen to this kind of music.
In this movie, it's even worse because it's not just that they told people what to do; they dared to tell young people to get a haircut and get a real job. Like, that's their worst crime in this movie.
You know what this story did? It put a personal face on the Nazis. And it just kind of like, it brought it home. This is like, the tip of the iceberg. This is like, everyday Germans, they just want to get on with their day. They want to do their stuff, And then suddenly they can't, like, it failed. I agree. But it wasn't more than that, but it's just like, the tone was off. You know what I mean? Like, completely. Yeah. But there is a story to be had there where it's just like, what happens to normal people who are just trying to get on with their life? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But don't turn it into a metaphor for heroism.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
indeed.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's what they tried to do.
Yeah.
Like,
That's true. All right, Chris.
all right. The first one, The Waterboy, 1998.
That's an Adam Sandler one.
Adam Sandler. It's maybe not
But
the
Adam
worst.
Sandler is sort of like he's supposed to make retarded movies.
Thank you for that. Because
Sorry.
if I
Yeah.
didn't have the adult tag, now I do.
Yeah. It's this fucking movie. It's maybe not the worst movie of the decade, but I figure I'm going to start it off with just I feel it's really the type of comedy I hate. Like the Rob Schneider in the back, doing the stupid thing.
Really,
There-
Rob Schneider is not. Oh wait.
And
Sorry, I
then
thought.
there's always the outside character who, at a certain point, like people ostracize, and then everyone comes forward and says, "But we do love you," and it's just like, and they're just bad physical comedy. It's just like, and it's based on almost like something that should have been like a 10-minute sketch at most that gets stretched out to 93 minutes or whatever it is, painfully, And I hate that kind of movie, And Adam Sandler really is pretty talented, you know what I mean? But it's just like he really drove that home that decade, and for me, Waterboy was the breaking point.
I understand your frustration with Adam Sandler. Absolutely, like he is so formulaic at times, and you think he's got talent. He really does.
Yeah, I think he's got something, But this is the type of thing where he has nothing.
He just is grinding.
It does not hold water. Number 2 for me is Natural Born Killers.
Oh,
which is maybe-
interesting.
It's a controversial movie, but I think it's like one of those like completely overrated films, and I think it's just like by a somewhat overrated director, And I think it's worth mentioning because it's a movie that tried to be smarter than it ended up being.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the screenwriter was.
Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino did do some
Okay.
stuff in it. Yeah.
There you go. Like I mean, but I'm
I
not
think
sure.
there's
Did he
more
write
than
the
one
whole
writer.
script,
No, I
or
think
did he
there's more than
do?
one writer.
Okay, it's a surprising pick because considering it's Oliver Stone, you would expect something better.
I'm just going to parallel it for a moment with what's happening now, which is like this new DC relaunch, like the New 52, and it's just like, and you've got this resurgence of like 90s mentality of like like hyper violence and like Rob Liefeld and everything, and for me like that type of like image crappy comic is completely personified in like something like Natural Born Killers, and it's just like I really didn't like it at the time. I'm hating it now. And it's something that tries to be edgy, thinking that means clever, and it's not.
No, yeah, you nailed it. It's true. It's such an aggressive movie too. It assaults you constantly.
There was some good music in it. Whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and,
Well, I think that was the point
you're
of
watching
the
it,
movie.
and you can almost get pulled into it for a moment, and then you step away. You're like, what the hell was that? You know?
I feel that Oliver Stone wanted to just, really be aggressive, and he just came up with this crazy script, and then like Tarantino contributes to it.
This felt like to me like, I'm Oliver Stone. I'm having a midlife crisis. I'm going to show the younger directors that I can still be edgy.
There's going over the top for the sake of going over the top, and there's going over the top because you actually have something to say, and I think that's like the former and not the latter. There are some scenes in that movie that I like. Some of them involve Christopher Walken. But, Christopher Walken is, like he's really an entity unto himself.
Number one pick.
Number one.
1994.
1994.
Clerks.
Oh, interesting, because I actually like Clerks.
So do I.
and yet, you're number one worse.
But I feel that the world would be a better place
without Kevin Smith.
Without Kevin Smith.
Oh,
I don't think he's done anything good since. And what he did in that movie... Since Clerks.
Chasing Amy.
No. And also, what Clerks did was teach a lot of directors to think that this 1 in a million chance of success would be theirs, which is maybe not a good idea, because there's been a lot of bad movies inspired by Clerks ever since. This is why I put it there.
Essentially, you're saying that Clerks is a good movie, but it's not a good movie.
It's a good movie by a lazy, talented man who's since shown us how...
Who's since shown a bunch of talented people how to not be talented.
Yeah.
Interesting. I have a love-hate relationship with Kevin Smith. I think that the most interesting moments to me is when he's being a little meta. Like, I saw Clerks. I love the bit where they discuss the Death Star and, whether or not the people working on the Death Star actually have a responsibility with regards to, like, how evil the Empire is. I think that was kind of interesting. But more often than not, I think I like listening to Kevin Smith when he's being Kevin Smith and talking about movies. Like An Evening with Kevin Smith is kind of a very interesting, his interviews are interesting. Like, I think he's got good dialogue a bit, but I think that, like, as a stand-up comedian, like, seriously, when you watch An Evening Together, he's a natural. He's a natural.
Oh.
Okay, all right.
Just to make sure we offend everyone, I'd just like to point out that lesbians should go back to their own countries, and immigrants should try not to be immigrants for a while. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, it's true, because we haven't mentioned them yet.
And autistic people are stupid.
And lazy.
Autistic people are lazy. Get a job. That's what we're saying. Anything else? Anything else that people want to add?
I'm good for now.
Alright, I guess it's my turn. At number 3, you mentioned Adam Sandler being very annoying in his persona. I think I can top that. My number 3 pick is a 1994 movie called Ace Ventura: Pet Detective Part 2. Now, if there's one personality I can't stand from the 90s, it is Jim Carrey's. It's so loud, it's obnoxious, all he does is like grin and talk with his butt, and it's sort of like, it's like this ADHD afflicted 8-year-old trying to make his uncle laugh, and somehow that earned him millions and a reputation. I do not get that.
I feel like Ace Ventura kind of comes out of almost like the Three Stooges type physical comedy that seems so old. That, you know what I mean? It's not funny. You know what I mean? But then again, you look at something like Mr. Bean, and it does really well.
It does.
So he did tap into something. Like, there is a language of, just like the pratfall, you know what I mean, that people like, you know what I mean? But he pushed it to such an extreme that, whatever charm, and I admit, when I went to go see Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, Le Premier, I didn't see any of the commercials. I had no idea. Like, I think I'd just broken up with a girlfriend, and my friend brought me to this movie, and I was just laughing. It was just like, it was a complete surprise, because it was just like, whatever. Like, the whole theater was laughing. It was just like, it was silly. It was, when I went to go see the second one, it was already stale. You didn't want to laugh at that kind of thing again, but it was just that first one just took me by surprise. It was my Matrix moment.
Jim Carrey's shtick is it doesn't work very well. It's ironic because I do think that he's somewhat talented. Like, I mean, and he's had a few moments here and there. The Truman Show being, certainly the one that stands out, probably. Like, he's not a bad actor, but when he does his thing, he really just pushes it to such an extent. It's
like
way
maybe
over
he should have
the
had a talk show, and so you see his thing every now and then, just like as a routine. But it's just like to watch a whole movie is just painful.
Yeah,
it's what it comes down to. Like,
And the thing is, Adam Sandler, I can see his talent as an entertainer. I really can. I think he has some depth into him. I don't see that in Jim Carrey. He was good in Living Colors, That's pretty much where it ends.
Yeah, on the sketch format.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you didn't like Truman Show?
No, I thought Truman Show was bloated. It's not that the movie was necessarily bad, although it wasn't great, but I think his performance was very distracting. Whenever he bends over to cut some flowers with his hat, he stick out his butt. Hey! I was like, really? Is that really what the character needs right now?
What he's always trying to do? He's trying to act as if he's part of a Norman Rockwell painting.
Mm.
These elongated frames, the over-articulated fingers, that's Jim Carrey.
Mm. Curse of the Puppet Master, 1998, is my pick for number 2 worst movie.
I can't say I saw that one.
Well, it is this. Wait, 1, 2.
I've seen a lot of the early Puppet Master movies, and they were kind of awesome.
They were. I agree. I love Puppet Master 1 through 3, and I think 4 and 5 are actually quite endearing. And then you reach number 6, Curse of the Puppet Master, and you go like, what the hell? And this is another thing where the budget was badly managed, and so a lot of the scenes are taken from other movies so that they could fill out and complete the story. And it's not like when they went like, let me tell you about the time that... No, they completed the script. It's just that suddenly when the puppet goes into a killing spree or whatever, the environment mysteriously changes. The victim sort of doesn't have quite the same skin color. It's just ridiculous. And the best part is that the entire time, their main character is carving a wooden leg. And this is not a spoiler because it's just so obvious what's going to happen. Eventually, he's going to become a puppet himself.
Oh.
And he's carving that wooden leg. And all the movie is like, wow, what's going to happen? And then at the end, they ran out of money to make that scene. So they took a scene from Demonic Toys and took a robot so instead of transforming to a puppet, he transformed into this robot and kills his master. Which is fair enough, except... the robot has wheels. So God only knows where that leg went.
Sold. I'm going to track down this movie. But the Puppet Master series from the beginning, they're actually pretty cute.
Yeah.
And they had a feel to them. They'd almost make a good video game.
I was thinking comic book myself. I would read a Puppet Master comic book.
Yeah. And your top.
My number 1 pick. Now, I was going to go with Swing Kids, as I previously mentioned, but once again, I got trumped. This is why I always go last, so I can get trumped and just choose one of my runner-ups at random.
You're good at improv.
And I'm going to go with 1996, a musical by the name of Evita.
Nice. Madonna. Poor Madonna.
Known actress known as Madonna.
The problem is not even Madonna. She's not a good actress. She never will be, and that's fair enough. But it's the way it's acted. It's just relentless song after. Usually in a musical, you got people singing, and then they calm the hell down, and then you get a sound, and they get some dialogue. The movie progresses, and then they start to introduce a new song, and then they burst into song again. And you're like, yeah, new song. I've been waiting for this. Evita went like, why do you need the middle part with the silence? Yeah, it's going to be song the entire time. If you don't get a headache after 2 hours, and you're pussy. It's just song after song after song. And for those of you who've seen the stage play, the songs are actually quite good. But they're not as good as when you Fujiize them with a little techno beat in the behind the entire freaking time.
I've never seen this movie. I have no desire to see this movie. But since we haven't quite covered elder hate yet, I do think that Madonna, as an elder stateswoman of pop, should retire.
Well,
come now.
you know what eventually is going to happen.
She and Lady Gaga are going to fight to the death.
But I was
After French kissing.
That's better than what I was going to say. So really. All right. So if you want to post a comment, you can write us at thedreamersedge.com. Just click on the episode name and post a comment and have a drink for us.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Otherwise, you can mail us at mail@thedreamersedge.com. And until next time, next time we're doing the 80s, actually. So that's going to be a fun little episode where Nick actually says he loves a whole bunch of stuff, hates nothing, and we make fun of him for that. Thank you.
Excelsior.
Mention we're doing the worst of the 90s to complete our little journey back to the 90s that we started a little bit earlier this week.
I think as soon as you open the door to the best, you've got to kind of face the worst.
That's true.
You know, so Frank.
Number 3 pick for a worst movie of the 1990s.
Number 3 pick. Okay, well, I'm going to go with something that is a bit of an urban legend to some. The original Captain America movie, which features, among other things, a fight scene filmed entirely in the dark. When I mean the dark, I actually mean the dark. It wasn't lit. You see a flurry of oof, eef. Anyways, they probably should have added some of the
Batman things.
Batman blurbs, which would have helped. It's just all around bad. It's the one movie that made my approach to the new Captain America movie a very reluctant one. I had come to the opinion after seeing that there was no way that a Captain America could ever work or succeed in any way, shape, or form.
Well, in this movie, Captain America is strangely played by J.D. Salinger's son. And if I'm not mistaken, to a German accent, so they just decided the other fascists. But yeah, a good choice. It was a horrible, horrible movie.
Very bad, very bad. My number 2 is Beverly Hills Ninja. All due respect to Chris Farley. It did not work for me at all. One of his late ones, I don't know. It's one of the ones that stands out as a very painful experience that I had to watch from start to finish. So I was with a group, so I couldn't actually reach
a movie that was never released domestically.
Right.
And basically, he plays like your perfect super soldier, and all he does for most of the movie is run away from people.
Yeah, he steals 2 cars.
Yeah, one's from an old man.
Yeah, one from a woman.
And you're like, wow, this is the best of America.
What really I found strange, though, is not the hero, it's the villain. Like, why is the Red Skull suddenly Italian instead of German? I understand there were Nazis in Italy, too, but it seems like a sort of roundabout choice.
My theory, the actor couldn't do. Alright, so this is the Dreamer's Ed podcast. We're back. This is the worst from the 90s. This is a bit of a bonus episode, I guess.
I guess it is, yeah. And for those who missed the first one, let's do a little roll call just the same.
Alright, I'm Chris, subtitler and occasional writer.
I'm Nicholas. I write video games review for thedreamersedge.com.
I'm Francois. I'm a librarian. I play with electrons and occasionally words.
And I'm Dimitri, webmaster of thedreamersedge.com. And yeah, as you